Hello everyone, I am Mr. Paul and I'll be doing a lesson on S4 biology. So welcome to my lesson. Now, to start with, we'll look at a small introduction to IGCSE biology. These are the lesson's objectives for today. By the end of this lesson, the learner shall be able to understand the scope of IGCSE biology curriculum, know which topics are going to be covered in S4 Term 1, and lastly, describe the 7 characteristics of living organisms. Now, IGCSE biology, the subject code is 0610. Now, this is basically a 2-year program, 5 terms to be precise, and we'll have 3 terms in S4, and then of course we'll have 2 terms in S5. Now, some of the learning materials required by the students here include a few copies of IGCSE biology textbooks, like we have Cambridge IGCSE biology book by Jones and Jones, 3rd edition. This is actually one of the recommended textbook. Or you can also use its revision guide. There's a revision guide for it. You can also use another set of book, Complete IGCSE Biology, 3rd edition by Ron Pickering. Now, a candidate is also required to have some past IGCSE exam papers. Now, these ones you can get from your teachers. Teachers can provide for you in your pen drives, or you can also visit online, the Cambridge site. You can get, there's a lot of these past exam papers. I would encourage you to try and look at the past papers as from 2016, for which go in line with this new IGCSE syllabus. Now, the last learning material you require is a copy of the syllabus, okay, for your examinations. Remember, as candidates, you're being prepared for your final exams, which you'll do next year. Now, here is some of the recommended GCSE biology textbooks. You can have a look at them. We have the first one is the Cambridge IGCSE biology by Jones and Jones. We have its revision guide, and then of course we have the complete biology textbook. Assessment at a glance. Now, each candidate is expected to sit for 3 exam papers, and it's important also to know that you are by now referred to as candidates because you're being prepared for your final exams. Okay, so these 3 papers will be the first, a multiple choice question paper, a paper 1 for core, and then a paper 2 for extended candidates. And then we have a short structured question paper, paper 3 for core, and a paper 4 for extended. And then we'll have an alternative to practical paper, also known as ATP, which is a paper 6. This one will be testing on the experimental skills. This paper will be same for both core and extended candidates. Now, who are the core and who are the extended candidates? Now, we have 2 categories of candidates. We have the core candidates. These candidates are the ones who are scoring grade D, that is 59% and below. They'll be entered for papers 1, 3, and 6. Okay? These candidates, they'll be covering the syllabus that only covers the core objectives only. Okay? And the core candidates, it's very important to note that they'll be eligible for only grades G up to C only. They'll never they'll not be graded into B, and of course, even A or A star. Now, extended candidates are candidates scoring above grade C, that is 6 and above. This will be ended for papers 2, 4, and 6, covering both core and supplement objectives in the syllabus. And the extended students will be eligible for grades G to A star. Now, it is also important to know that it's a bit different with the Ministry of Education, how they select students after doing the selection exams. For the selection exams, those students who are scoring 70 and above will be qualified for IGCSE extended. The ones who are scoring between 50 and up to 69 will be eligible for core, and the ones who are scoring 40 up to 69 will be eligible for core, IGCSE core, and the ones who are scoring below 40 will be only eligible for national exams. Now, the weighting on these exam papers, we have, as you can see from the table there, I mean, like, it's very clear, right? We have the multiple choice question papers. They are 40 marks, and of course, they're weighted at 30% of the total marks. The structured question papers, okay, they're 80 marks, and they're weighted at 50% of the total mark. And then the ATP paper, it's 40 marks, and is weighted at 20%. Total comes to 100%. Now, let's have a look at the S4 IGCSE Biology Term 1 plan for 2021. Now, this one is a list of some of the topics we'll be covering this particular term. Now, these topics include, the first one will be a small introduction to IGCSE, the one I've just been covering with you, and biology curriculum, and we'll have also characteristics and classification of living organisms, and then we'll go to the organization of an organism, okay, and then we'll have the first assessment on the topics that have been covered above. And then we'll go to the topic number 4, which is the movement of substances in and out of cells, okay? And then we'll look at biological elements, and then enzymes, and then we'll do the second assessment, okay? Kindly note that within the term, you'll only sit for assessment. There are no exams, at least 2 assessments per term. Now, to start with, our first topic for its 4 biology will be on characteristics of living organisms. As you all know, biology is all about life. It's the study of living things, okay, or the living organisms, like things like plants, animals, bacteria, fungi. So biology, it's a very easy subject to understand, okay, because you can easily relate to all these living or life processes, and of course, understand them better. Now, some of the characteristics of living organisms. All living organisms must be able to carry out these 7 important life processes. The first one is nutrition or feeding. Now, all living organisms are capable of taking from the environment, okay, substances, and taking them, using them, okay, to provide them energy, to grow, and of course, to develop, okay? Now, plants are able to make their own food where they are, using the simple raw materials around them, like they can use the water and the carbon dioxide and make their own food wherever they are. So we normally call plants as autotrophs, okay? And then we have animals. Animals will eat plants and other animals. Now, the other characteristic of living organisms also is movement. Now, all living organisms are able to move to some extent. Now, okay, animals are able to move their body from one place to another, or they can also move only a part of their body. Okay, plants move in a bit different way. Okay, they can move by maybe growing towards light. Okay, or their roots growing towards where there's water. Okay, so it's basically stationary movement. Now, the other characteristics of living organisms is respiration. Now, what is respiration? Now, this is all about getting energy out of food that we eat, the sugars, basically, okay? All living organisms they require energy. So how do you get the energy to be able to actually do important things, to move your body, or to maybe for growth, and to do a lot of things inside your body, okay? This energy is derived from the food that you eat, which is basically the glucose, okay? And this is by the process referred to as respiration. All living things must respire, okay? They must carry out respiration because all of the living organisms need energy. Now, most of the time, oxygen is being required for this particular process called respiration, okay? And this is explains why we always keep on breathing in, okay? We're taking in oxygen, so that this oxygen is normally being used to break down this glucose, okay? And to release the energy that is found inside the glucose. This process occurs in all our cells all the time, okay? And in all living organisms, including plants, okay? So you can have a simple chemical equation there, like we see glucose plus oxygen, okay? They react. This one occurs inside our cells. They react together, and they form products like carbon dioxide, water, and of course, the most important thing that is being produced or released there, it's energy. Okay, this energy is in the form of ATP. We will learn more about respiration in our coming lessons. Now, the fourth characteristics of living organisms is about growth. Okay, now all living organisms do actually grow. Okay, grow is referred to as a permanent increase in body size. Okay, plants grow, animals grow. Okay, now plants normally grow all the time. They never stop growing, not unlike animals like us. For us, we normally stop growing at a certain age. Okay, as organisms grow, they also develop. Now, development is all about becoming more complex in your structure, in your body makeup. Okay, when you're a baby, there's some organs which you never used to be having. Okay, or some parts of your body which developed as you grow up. Okay, now the fifth characteristic of living thing is excretion. Now, all living organisms produce a lot of waste in their bodies, okay? And this waste mostly like they're being produced inside our cells. And these wastes are normally as a result of what we call metabolic reactions, which occur inside our cells. These reactions, like the one we just talked about, respiration, they occur in our cells all the time, okay, to keep us alive. And at the same time, when they're occurring, let's say respiration to give us energy, they normally produce certain waste. And these wastes are referred to as metabolic waste. So this waste, they are actually coming or they're made inside our cells. And they must be produced, they must be taken out of our body or released out of our cells and out of our body. Because if they accumulate in our cells, they will poison our cells, they might end up killing our cells. So they must be removed. So some of these wastes are like, for instance, we have respiration produces carbon dioxide, which is a waste, which must be removed out of our body. We have some waste like excess water, can also be removed. We have excretion also entails removal from the body of some substances in excess of body requirements. Some substances, we cannot keep them in our body, okay? If they're in excess, we have to remove them. Like, for instance, amino acid. Now, you all know that when we eat glucose, some of the glucose can be kept inside the body, can be changed into glycogen and stored in our body for later use. Later, you can, if you require energy, if the level of glucose goes down in your blood, the blood can easily go to the liver and take some of that stored glycogen and change it back to glucose. However, amino acid, which we normally derive from the protein that we eat, amino acids cannot be kept in our body, like stored in our body. Okay, when we eat proteins, we get the amino acid, and some of the amino acids are being used to make a lot of proteins in our body, and any excess amino acid must be removed. So how is it being removed? First of all, it has to be changed into a toxic chemical waste called urea, and then urea is released into the blood, and then is excreted in our urine, okay, by our kidneys. Now, the sixth characteristic of living organisms is reproduction. Now, all living organisms are able to make new organisms which look like themselves, okay? Okay, they actually have to reproduce. And then the last characteristic of living organisms is sensitivity, okay? All living organisms are sensitive. They are able to pick up information about changes in their environment and respond or react to these changes. Now, in summary, in today's lesson, we looked at a number of things. We looked at a small introduction to IGCSE biology, where we looked at the learning materials. We looked at the textbooks that we need. We looked at the exam past papers, okay? Also, we looked at some of the requirements for core and extended candidates. And we looked at the term plan for this term, okay, showing all the topics that you're going to actually cover in this term, okay. It is also important to know that in each term we have at least 2 assessments being done, okay. So we'll have 2 assessments in term 1, 2 assessment in term 2, and then 2 assessment in term 3. Okay? At the end of S4, you will sit for your selection exams. And these selection exams, as I told you earlier, is what is going to be used to place you, okay, in S5. For those students who are going to sit for core, or the ones who are going to sit for extended, or the ones who have not qualified for any of the IGCSE papers, will have to sit for national exams, okay? And then lastly, we looked at the 7 characteristics of living organisms, okay? I would like to take this opportunity to ask you to think of your own word, okay, to help you remember these 7 characteristics. Thank you for tuning in. I have a last bit there, just a few questions for your own revision. Kindly look at those questions, all right? Have a look at them, and then the answer for these questions I will give you in the next lesson. Thank you for tuning in.